Well, we're talking about Northern Ireland again. Why? Well, because this is going to pretty much dominate the rest of the summer. And to be honest, it's a pretty bizarre time for Frost to come out and say this, because in less than a week's time now, the MPs are going to go on their summer recess. So why on earth would Frost and even, Johnson's very, very pro-Brexit government, why on earth would they go and drop this literally like almost a week before the MPs go for their summer recess? Doesn't make a lot of sense when you would drop a very significant, very significant piece of legislation. Even if this was something else, it would be very bizarre for a government to suddenly drop this. Like any business or even any workplace, the MPs sort of like to wind it down before they get to the summer and then get back into it when they get back into it. But this does look like it is going to be the row of the summer, and I hope that this is just going to be a load of, kabuki theatre shadow boxing by our government, and that they are not actually serious about this. But then, as I've said before, our government has no idea how the EU works, how it even operates, and as they are proving, have absolutely no idea what even it is that they've just signed up to in their very own Brexit withdrawal agreement, aka the oven-ready deal that Boris Johnson was only so proud and so crowing about just literally less than 6 months ago at this point. But as always, before we do jump into this, please do remember to hit that like, share and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page, as well as a one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can, buy me a coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel that way. So, on with this. So, this comes from The Guardian, and the title is, Why is Northern Ireland Protocol Still an Issue? Actions have consequences. Ask a stupid question and you get a stupid answer. The Northern Ireland Protocol is a stupid answer. It imposes a complex bureaucracy on the movement of ordinary goods across the Irish Sea. But it is the only possible response to a problem created by Boris Johnson. The reason it keeps coming around again and again, like a ghoul on a ghost train, is that it requires Johnson and his government to do something that goes against the grain of the whole Brexit project. To acknowledge that choices have a cost. There used to be a game show on an American radio and TV called Truth or Consequences. It was so popular that a whole city in New Mexico is named after it. This is now where we live. In each episode, the contestant is continually asked a deliberately daft question, and when they failed to answer it, they had to perform a zany or embarrassing stunt. And we've reached the point that in the Brexit show, the question is, why did you divide one part of the UK from the rest, creating a chimera country in which most of the body is outside of the UK's of the EU's single market and still 1 foot inside? Since it is completely unanswerable, we get the embarrassing stunt. This being the demand that the EU should tear up a critical part of the Brexit withdrawal agreement, or else. Or else what? Britain will unilaterally suspend the operation of the protocol and force feed the people of Northern Ireland with good English sausage, triggering retaliatory trade sanctions from the EU, destroy Britain's reputation as a trustworthy partner for any sane country, and deeply antagonise the Biden administration in Washington, with whom it is hoping to try and do a landmark trade deal. Good luck with that. Speaking on Wednesday after he published his widely unrealistic set of demands on the Northern Ireland Protocol, which were then flatly rejected on Thursday by the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and the Brexit Minister David Frost, said that negotiations with the EU have got to go to the heart of the problem. This is about the only truth that he actually uttered. So what is the heart of the problem? It is not the great Ulster sausage famine. It does not lie in the complexities of the phytosanitary standards or the mechanisms of the legal interpretation, all of which could have been solved with the pragmatic and mutual trust. When it is this problem is dissected, the message written on its heart will be: Boris Johnson is constructionally incapable of accepting a relationship between cause and effect. The protocol itself may be complicated, but it is a very dense technocratic language, and it is practical in its operations. But behind it lies the stark and very simple reality: Johnson and the rest of the Brexiteers had a choice to make. They cut off the UK from the EU single market and customs union, or they could prioritise the integrity of the UK itself. They could literally not do both, and they still can't. The dreary soap opera of the protocol is driven by the need to wish away the unpleasant fact of you can't bake your own oven-ready Brexit deal and then remove one of the main ingredients from the final dish. The EU has been far better at doing these things than making the EU has far better things to be doing than making a return trip to the hellish tedium of Brexiternity. But for Frost and Johnson, impossible is nothing. It is performative belligerence with no boundary by the limits of what can be achieved. Its main function, indeed, is the denial of reality. And reality is, in this case, is the existence within the UK of a very complex, ambiguous, troubled and fragile piece, Northern Ireland. There is a good reason why. In the run-up to the 2016 referendum, the Vote Leave campaign arduously avoided the question of what would happen to this awkward policy if the UK left the EU. If you're offering a 3-word slogan as your proposition to voters, you really don't want to start mapping the future of a border with more crossings and more of the entire eastern flank of the EU, and its history has every bit as entangled as its geography. But by the repressed and returns, Theresa May, for all her haplessness, at least had the honesty to face these two truths. One was that there could not be a return to a hard border on the island of Ireland. The other was that in order to avoid it, Britain would have to choose between equally unpalpable alternatives. Because it is inextricably intertwined with the rest of Ireland, and therefore with the EU, Northern Ireland was always going to have to stay very closely aligned to the single market, and the British government could deal with this fact in one of two ways. It could put the Unionists first and decide that the same regime of alignment would apply to the whole of UK, or it could put a hard Brexit first and accept that separating Northern Ireland from the rest of the UK was a price worth paying for it. Many decided that the integrity of the Union mattered most, hence the infamous backstop, which shaped Brexit around the need to have the same rules for Northern Ireland as for the rest of Britain. Johnson and the ERG took the opposite decision. They traded the integrity of the Union for the freedom of Britain to cut its ties with the European trading system. It is worth recalling how quickly and nonchalantly Johnson made this choice. He did it in less than 90 minutes. During a meeting with the then Irish Prime Minister Leo Varadkar in Wirral in October of 2019, he grasped it as a lifeline to try and save himself. Without this deal, the Prime Minister might have been the shortest on record. But remember too, that the ERG made the same choice. Over the wails of betrayal from the DUP, the hardline Brexiteers all decided that having the same rules for the whole of the UK was less important than achieving their vision of freedom. This would be fair enough were it not for the great cloud of unknowing that now hangs over everything to do with Brexit. What refuses to be known is the connection between choices and outcomes. The basic proposition is that the way you make your bed is the way you lie in it has never been accepted by the British government. The government is now effectively blaming Remainers for the protocol. If they hadn't caused so much trouble in Parliament, poor Johnson would never have to sign up to it. The argument is that the political chaos unleashed by Brexit frees the very people who created it from any responsibility of their own decisions, and this, of course, returns to the familiar excuse to magistrates, sorry gov, that were awfully drunk at that time. The choice is very pitiful pleading, and we never really made it at all. They have vanished, but alas, all the same cannot be said for the consequences, especially for the people of Northern Ireland. They have to live with the effects in Johnson's retelling of the story, where accidental and unintended, the 3-word slogan of Brexit has been replaced by a 4-word letter. Oops. And I completely agree. This entire fault is the fault of Johnson and the Brexiteers. There was a very, very clear state and a very two clear choices with also very, very clear consequences. And they know that these choices that they made themselves, where we are now, are the consequences that they are having to face. And they cannot come to terms with the consequences, because then it gets to the very heart of the idea of, well, actually, Brexit might not be the best idea ever. And again, if you start to go down this road of consequences and decision making, that is where we end up. And I've always said Britain's road back to the EU was always paved from the very moment Leave won. It was never ever in question or doubt we're going to end up back in the EU in some way, shape or form. It's just a matter of when, really. And like I say, sooner or later, maybe even a future Conservative government may be the ones themselves to be calling for a return back into the EU to rejoin it. Who knows? Like I say, trust me, this is a crazy train that is never going to stop. So, as always, thank you for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can, well, buy me a coffee. And as always, please do remember to keep on wearing your face masks out there, especially in the UK, and think about social distancing, because the virus is still out there, despite how the government likes to think that it's not. So, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.